Looking for a casual baseball podcast to listen to? Well, Baseball with the Bard, presented by Clovercrest Media, has just what you're looking for. Tyler Bard and Noah Cross cover a wide range of happenings in the MLB and then dive into a deep focus on the Red Sox and Yankees. Join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for your weekly dose of Baseball with the Bard.
What's going on, guys? Welcome here to the Posting Up podcast. This is episode 2. I believe I'm joined by Sean Scanlon, although I can't see him right now. There he is. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. We couldn't be Zay today. Could not join us. He has some family matters to take care of. So, we'll see him next time. Sean, I believe, has better Wi-Fi today, so he will be remaining with us throughout the show.
Yes, sir.
So let's waste no time. Let's get right into it. First thing I wanted to talk about, Sean, is the Wizards. They made a big trade for Russell Westbrook. They got an injury-prone John Wall off of their hands with that huge contract. Although they took in Russell Westbrook's ginormous contract, it was nowhere near John Wall's monster contract. The Wizards aren't doing too well. They did win their first game yesterday. They are 1-5, but that's just not good enough for a team that many people were expecting to make the playoffs in the East. Sean, do you trust these Wizards? Do you think that Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook can really can coincide and get along and get the ship right in Washington?
Yeah, I think that they're going to be able to gel once the season starts to move along here. I don't think that's the biggest problem with the Wizards right now. I think their defense is definitely the biggest problem. Right now, they're giving up 120 points per game. They're just getting embarrassed on that side of the floor. So that definitely needs to improve. Maybe, it's pretty early right now, but maybe during the trade deadline, they have to make a move for, a defensive player or, someone like a rim protector, good wing defender, because they really need that help right now. They're just giving up way too many points. But the thing is, I think the offense could work, though. They definitely could score. Russell Westbrook is actually my favorite player, so it's tough to see this rough start. But I think what he needs to do is, stop shooting so many threes and start, shooting more mid-range, more to his strength. Because last year when he was on Houston, I think, he had one of the most efficient points or stretches of his career when he was shooting less 3-pointers and he was just shooting more 2-pointers because that's more efficient. Obviously he's not a great 3-point shooter, so I think there's a lot of things that the Wizards can do. They also need a lot of help from their young big men, Rui Hachimura and Thomas Bryant, who haven't been playing that great the first couple games. So they need help from their bigs. They need a lot of defense, and I think Russ needs to learn his role in this offense. But I think that they could turn it around because they have the offensive firepower to do it. So we'll see what happens, but they definitely need some help on defense.
Yeah, and that's a great point you make, Sean, is Russell Westbrook just finding his role in this offense. Obviously, he probably won't be scoring at the clip he was earlier in his career. Even last season, I believe he averaged around 27 points a game. Mm-hmm. But I think he's he fits this offense more as like a playmaker and just a facilitator of the offense. Because with someone like Bradley Beal and you have the pieces around, like you mentioned, like Thomas Bryant, Davis Bertans is a terrific shooter. Mm-hmm. So for Russell Westbrook, someone who draws a lot of attention when he goes into the paint, I think that he has the shooters around him, especially in that Bertans guy. He is amazing. He can just drive in and kick it out and make plays. I think sometimes he focuses too much on playing hero ball, and that's not what you want to do, especially when you're like on a new team trying to figure out your role. But yeah, I believe if the Wizards can, get on track, at least get to 500, then they can kind of hit the reset button and figure everything out. I had this Wizards team squeaking into the playoffs. I had mentioned before that, if the Wizards don't work out, I can see the Cavs squeaking into that role. But I don't know. I just think you make a great point. Russell Westbrook really just has to find his role. And, with someone like Bradley Beal on your team, Bradley Beal's a natural leader. He's a terrific scorer. He can score with the best of them in this league. He's averaging above 30 points a game right now. He averaged near there. He either averaged 29 or 30 points a game last season. So
Yeah.
we know what Bradley Beal is. Russell Westbrook has to figure himself out in this Wizards lineup.
For sure, yeah, and you bring up a good point about him being the facilitator. I mean, because he's got the weapons around him. Like you said, Bertans is one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. Almost shot 45% from three last year, which is pretty ridiculous. Given it or taking the amount of threes that he's taking a game, he's shooting almost 7 a game and shooting at 45%. So he's a great shooter. But he's not in the starting lineup right now. He's coming off the bench. So I think that might be a spark that they can use. Bring him into the starting lineup, get some more scoring so you can get out to those early leads. So it's easier for your defense. And also their rookie, Denny Avdija, the foreign player that they drafted this year in the first round, he's been shooting really well. It's just he hasn't been taking that many shots. So I think if they make create more shots for him in the offense, I think this Wizards team could definitely get it going here.
Yeah, no, and so that kind of transitions us, Sean, into our little game break here. Tomorrow night we have something that's always interesting to watch here. KD versus Russell Westbrook. Certainly, this would be a huge game for the Wizards to win, especially considering how dominant the Nets have looked. They've cooled off a little bit. They are 3-2 now, but that's going to be a nationally televised game over on NBA TV at 6 tomorrow. And I believe they already played this season. KD and Russell Westbrook did embrace after that game, and they were talking and laughing and stuff like that. So it's good to see that they're clicking on a personal level. But I think anytime these two step on the court together, there's a high sense of importance in the game, because they, on the inside, I know they both want to prove that, one, they don't really need each other to succeed, and two, that one is better than the other and a better leader. So I think these KD Russell Westbrook matchups are always fun to watch, and they certainly always draw a lot of attention. Sean, is there anything in this game in particular you're looking for, whether it be the KD versus Westbrook aspect, or kind of like the Wizards trying to right the ship, or the Nets trying to just get another dominant win?
Yeah, the storyline between KD and Westbrook, even 4 years after the teammates, it's always fun to talk about, just because the relationship they had, and how dominant they were, and just the way that it ended. But I think I'm definitely looking forward to this game. The Wizards, like I said before, they have the offense to do it. So I mean, the Nets obviously we know can score. So I see this one being a really high scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised if both teams are into the 120s at the end of the game. I'd probably give the Nets the advantage as long as they don't rest Kyrie and KD, which they've only done once this season, but I don't think they would here. So I'd probably give the Nets the advantage, but the Wizards, they definitely need a win here. So they're going to need a huge game from Bradley Beal, of course. Russell Westbrook's going to have to be more efficient shooting the ball, and having less turnovers. So I think that it'll be a fun game to watch. There will be a lot of offense. And I'm really excited to see this KD versus Westbrook matchup for sure.
Yeah. Like I said, it's always fun when those two get on the court together, whether it's obviously in Oklahoma City as teammates, or we had the Houston versus Golden State matchups, even Golden State versus Oklahoma City back when Russell Westbrook was still playing for them. So that's always fun to see those two step on the court together. Other games we got coming, we got tonight at 7:30 on NBA TV. We got the Pelicans versus the Raptors. That should be an interesting game. Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram headline the Pelicans roster. Kyle Lowry and Pascal Siakam with the Raptors. Sean, do you have any comments on this game?
Yeah, the Raptors, it's been a slow start for them, so they got to get it going. I know Pascal Siakam hasn't been playing that well, so they really need to start to get him going. And Fred VanVleet's got to show up after, getting that huge payday in the offseason. He's got to come up big for them. But the Pelicans on the other side, I like what they're doing. they have a lot of young talent. I think Stan Van Gundy was the right hire to be their head coach. And I think they're just going to continue to get better the more and more they play with each other. Like you said, Ingram, Ingram and Zion, but then you got Lonzo, the facilitator. They bring in veterans, Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe. They still have JJ Redick. So they have a ton of depth. I think that they really have a chance to make some noise in the West, maybe as one of those lower seeds, maybe a 7 or 8 seed. But I'm looking forward to this one. I think the Pelicans will pull it out just because I don't believe what the Raptors are doing right now is really great. They haven't been great on the offense side of the ball or really defense, which is what they're known for. That's kind of what their culture has been the last couple of years. So it'll be a fun game to watch. I'll definitely tune into this one, but I got to give the Pelicans the edge on this one.
Yeah, I'll also take the Pelicans. You know, they've been doing, like you said, they're deep. I think they're one of the deepest teams in the league. You know, until I watched them this season, I'd forgotten everyone they had. Like Steven Adams, I just completely forgot they acquired him. He's a great piece for them. And I remember Zion coming out and saying that, you know, people think that he's strong. The first time he went on the court and practiced with Steven Adams, he was blown away by the strength of that guy. So he's an important piece defensively, and, you know, on the offensive glass, he could bang down low in the post. So I think, yeah, the Pelicans take this one, and I think it brings up a more important thing with the Raptors. Kind of, you know, do they need to make a move? There's been rumors of them trading for another piece, possibly bringing DeMar DeRozan back. I think DeRozan would be a great acquisition for this Raptors team. You know, obviously he's that's where he was drafted. That's where he loved to play. But I think they definitely need to add another piece to that team to be competitive in this Eastern Conference.
Yeah. I think one piece that they could definitely use is a big right now. Aaron Baines is their starting center, and he's decent. He can stretch the floor a little bit. He can shoot, and he's a good rebounder. But after losing Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol in the offseason, I mean those are two huge losses, two great veterans, two great veteran big men that you definitely need some compensation for in order to get back where you were last season if you want to make a deep playoff run. So they definitely need some help at the bigs at the 4 and 5 spot. So we'll see if they make any moves upcoming while the trade deadline is still a far time away, obviously. But we'll see if they make any moves in a dire situation.
Yes. So then we have a team that plays 2 primetime games or nationally televised games tonight and Monday. We have tonight the Kings taking on the Rockets at 5 on NBA TV, and then Monday night at 8, the Mavs versus the Rockets on NBA TV. And that actually brings us right into our next topic. Sean, obviously the Rockets haven't been looking too great. They're 1-2. I'm just going to get straight to the point. The Rockets need to dump Harden, and they need to do it fast. I mean, who knows what it's like inside that locker room. Obviously it's a little different. Media is not allowed in the locker room, so we can't hear a lot of that stuff going on, but do they need to hurry up and just get James Harden out of town and get this rebuild kind of going?
Yeah, I think they do. Obviously, when your best player on the team, your superstar player, isn't bought into the system, especially when you have a new GM and a new head coach, it just makes it tougher for all the other players around when they see, the best player, he doesn't want to be here and he doesn't want to be all in to win the game. So why should all the role players be, really? So I think it's definitely a little toxic for the Rockets locker room. I think they have to, do their best job to try and find a new spot for him wherever they can. Obviously you don't want to rush it because you don't want to give up a bad deal. For one of the best players in the league, maybe one of the best offensive players that, we've seen in our lifetimes. So you definitely got to be smart and diligent with what you're giving up or what you're getting back to get James Harden, because he is so gifted. But I definitely do think that the Rockets, they got to do something here because, you have all these other players, John Wall, who's coming back from injury, who looked pretty good in his first game back, Christian Wood, who's been an absolute monster after being signed from the Pistons this offseason. I think it's unfair to them. They want to go out and win some ball games, and it's tough to do when your best player is not bought in. So I do think that the Rockets have to get moving on this one and try and get Harden out of Houston.
Dude, Harden is like the Antonio Brown of the NBA. Like, it's a joke. Either play or don't. opt out for the season. Say you're done with COVID. Like, if you don't want to be a Rocket, then just opt out. Like, it's ridiculous. If you're going to be out, I mean, he's showing up. He's putting up numbers. He's putting up some great numbers when he's out there on the court. But, I mean, you have to buy in or get out, and the management has to realize that.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, Jace. I think that if you're on a team and you're there for that moment, you should be 100%, invested in them. I mean, that's your team. You're on a contract playing for them, and until they ship you out, you have to be 100% committed to them. And that's one of my biggest problem with a lot of players who think they have this heightened sense of entitlement in their positions, whether it be across NFL, NBA, MLB, that they're just, I mean, we've heard the rumors that the Rockets kind of have given James Harden the final say on most of their head coaching hires, personnel moves. That's a big move. That's a big step for a player to be involved in all those decisions. So for him to kind of just go out there and not really care about what he's doing, and it's just a horrible look for him, and obviously it's impacting the Rockets' level of play pretty severely. So I think one thing they need to make sure is they get a good package for James Harden, and to get him out of there as soon as possible and get this train rolling.
Yeah, I mean, Harden is like it's a mess. You can't be a GM and a player,
Yeah, no, that's just not how it works.
Yeah, and if an organization gives you that type of trust as a player, to be involved in some of the personnel decisions, that means that they have a lot of trust in you. That means that they think that you're there for the long haul, that you're invested into the team. So I think it's a bad look for James Harden right now. Definitely, I think he's taking it sort of like a sore loser. I think he should just stay committed, see the pieces that he has around him now, and try to work with it. But we know how James Harden is. I don't think that's going to happen. But we'll see what ends up happening in Houston.
Yeah, and one of the teams he's been rumored to join is my favorite, my team that I support. I know I have the Oklahoma City shirt on, but the Philadelphia 76ers. If he comes into Philadelphia after we're going to have to give up Ben Simmons for him, and he pulls some crap like this, I'm not going to be happy. And I doubt that any team he goes to, whether it be the Sixers or whether it be anyone else in the league, if he pulls this crap either this year or somewhere down the road, the fans are not going to be happy with the team for giving up what they give up to get James Harden. So if he goes somewhere, he better be happy there. And that's the bottom line, because fans aren't going to put up with that crap for long.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and where do you think is a realistic landing spot for Harden if he were to get traded? Do you think it's the Sixers? Your Sixers?
I think the Sixers have a lot to offer. I think realistically they can give Houston the most, between a young piece, a star in Ben Simmons, and then some draft picks. But somewhere else I could I don't know. I've heard Milwaukee, I've heard Boston. Boston also has a lot of draft capital and young pieces, but I don't see Boston really shaking up their dynamic they have there. So I'd say Philadelphia right now for me is kind of the place that makes the most sense. I don't think Brooklyn makes a lot of sense, because I just don't think he would work with KD and Kyrie Irving. I think they would have 3 ball dominant players, and that just wouldn't work.
Yeah. I think it's going to be Philly too, just because the relationship that Daryl Morey has, who's now in Philadelphia, that was in Houston with James Harden. They have a good relationship together. So I could definitely see that happening. And with the Celtics, I think they would have to give up either Jaylen Brown or Marcus Smart. And Jaylen Brown's been off to a great start this year with the Celtics, so I don't think they would want to do that. And Marcus Smart is, obviously one of the best wing defenders in the league. He's also improved his 3-point shot a lot. So I don't think they want to give up either of those pieces. I don't think Danny Ainge is ready to give up on them. So I think the Sixers definitely makes the most sense out of the Eastern Conference teams for sure.
Yep. So that wraps that segment up. I believe up next we have something new to the show. We're going to broadcast on Tuesday and Saturday. And on Saturday, our second game break will bring us kind of a cool top 10 plays from the week brought to us by our very own King Zay. He obviously isn't with us today, but he was still able to get us this top 10. So whenever you're ready, Jace, why don't you cue that up? I'm excited for this. All right, here we go. Number 10, Lakers Spurs. Oof. LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Allen. That was a beautiful pass. That's something about KD that's underrated is his playmaking.
Absolutely.
Greek freak Giannis. Jamming it down.
He's so big. Oh, and the buzzer beater.
Okay, Hero. I see you.
Tyler Hero's so underrated.
So good.
A walking bucket.
Ooh. That's the
Eubanks?
rim.
I see you, Eubanks.
Oh, and the chase down.
Is that Tice?
Mm-hmm.
He's a beast, Tice.
Ooh, Greek Freak makes it twice on this week.
He makes that look so easy. It's
So
ridiculous.
simple.
Oh, I saw this one last night. Yep.
Ooh.
Jeremy Grant.
Jeremy Grant's so athletic.
He's a low-key baller, Jeremy Grant. Ooh, and my boy, Donovan Mitchell, the spider.
Spider.
Oh.
His bounce is ridiculous.
Oh, and then, of course,
On your head, KD.
scary Terry.
A jam on Kevin Durant. Oh, my goodness. That, I feel like for a star player like that, those moments are always embarrassing. Like it's always all over social media because of
posterized.
The caliber of the player.
Yeah, Terry was good too.
Yeah, for sure. KD was definitely hearing about that after the game.
Oh, 100%. Oh my Lord. So
yeah, good job, King's with that top 10. I like it.
That was great.
That was awesome.
We'll have more plays to you guys next week. Maybe we can get some music behind that next time, Zay. I'm just joking. We had fun commentating that. So that brings us into our third and final topic, and a topic that actually I've been looking forward to getting to the entire show is the story of the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, they still have Stephen Curry. Draymond Green is out. They have other pieces there. They have Andrew Wiggins, who hasn't been doing too well. Kelly Oubre, who hasn't been doing too well. Guys, do you think the Warriors, at this point, do you even think they have a realistic chance to make the playoffs, never mind a championship? Or do you think Klay Thompson is truly that piece that holds them together? The Splash Brothers, you always think Steph Curry is the more prominent one. He wins the MVPs, finals MVPs. Is Klay Thompson truly the missing piece? Do they need him to contend in the West?
Yeah, I think that he really is. I think that we almost took Klay Thompson for granted. We've obviously seen the past 2 seasons with him being out with the injury that the Warriors have not been the same team at all. Klay Thompson, he's one of the best 3-and-D players in the league. He's a elite wing defender. He's going to lock up your best shooting guard every night. And on the other end, obviously we know what he brings with the 3-point shot. He's one of the best. He probably is the best catch and shoot 3-point shooter of all time. NBA history, and that's obviously some high praise, but I think that he really gels his team together. Obviously the offense just works so much better when you have the 2 elite shooters on the floor, not just one with Steph Curry. So teams could send a lot of double teams at Steph Curry, not make it tough for him to get that space and create those shots for himself. So obviously with Klay there, it makes it so much easier. And like you said, Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins, those are the guys filling in for his spot, and they really haven't showed up so far this season. They've been shooting the ball terribly from the 3-point line, and on the defensive side, they haven't really been that great. Oubre's been better than Wiggins, but Klay Thompson, he's super underrated. I think we really see how important he was to the Warriors over the past 2 years just because of what happened. So but for the Warriors, I don't think there's a realistic shot for them in the playoffs unless they, go on some type of crazy run here and start reeling off some wins. But I think it's more about developing their young guys this season. James Wiseman, obviously, he's been playing great in his first couple games. So we'll see what happens down the road. But I don't see a realistic shot for the Warriors making the playoffs this year. And I think Klay Thompson is definitely missing on this Warriors team.
They don't have any real, defense. Klay Thompson was the best on-ball defender they had. And then they had Draymond Green and who helps them in the post. James Wiseman's helping a little bit in the post. I think the real big glue that holds the team together, though, is Draymond Green, because he is on the offensive end. He's a little bit of that playmaker. He gets assists. He grinds for rebounds. He's that grindy. He's the Dennis Rodman to that big three. And Klay Thompson is like that Scottie Pippen. He's good on ball defender, can shoot some shots. But Steph just has to learn how to play without him. I think that's the big key. Steph doesn't know how to play too well without Klay Thompson. But the defense on the side of the ball, Draymond Green is the heart and soul of that defense. So that's why I think they've been struggling. Draymond Green, only one game played thus far this year. And I think that's their real struggle point, is when Draymond Green's not playing.
Yeah, so obviously Draymond being out also is a huge blow to this Warriors team. I do think their role players do need to step it up, but JC make a good point that Steph Curry just flat out, he needs to learn how to play without Klay Thompson, because Klay Thompson, he wasn't there last year. He won't be there this year. And, who knows if he's going to come back and be the same player, which I hate to say, but 2 severe leg injuries over the course of 2 seasons will mess you up. And hopefully, I have faith in Klay. He's a grinder. He's a hard worker. Hopefully he'll be back at full strength and better than ever. But yeah, I think James Wiseman, he's been playing decently. He needs to get more rebounds. He's been good on the post defense, but I think he needs to grab more boards and he needs to score a little more. Steph Curry obviously is doing everything humanly possible to try to carry this team, but they do either need to make some kind of trade for a better defender. Maybe a Jonathan Isaac from Orlando would be a good idea for me. But I just think they have to learn to live without Klay Thompson, because the reality is he's not going to be back anytime soon, and this team has expectations from not only the front office but the fans as well.
If you look at Steph Curry, his success has come from that number 2 there in that backcourt. Early in his career, it was him and Monte Ellis. Now it's him and Klay Thompson. They had a little bit of success with him and D'Angelo Russell, but then they traded him. So I think Steph Curry just needs that too. So maybe if they could do a big, I don't know how much capital and assets they have, if they could be a spot for James Harden, Steph Curry, and James Harden, that would just be insane. I don't think that's realistic, though.
Yeah, I've certainly heard the rumors about that floating around, and I think that would be crazy to watch. I don't even know how you'd begin to stop that offense. You talk about Steph Curry and KD was basically unstoppable. I don't think anyone would actually physically be able to stop a Steph Curry, James Harden offense. And then even if they hold on to James Harden, they can run Klay Thompson at the 3 next season, and he can kind of just be that catch and shoot 3-and-D kind of guy for them. And I think that team would be a force to be reckoned with. But we'll see if they actually pull that off. And because I don't know. Like we said, we don't know where Harden, excuse me. Harden's going to go. Like we said, Philadelphia is most likely the best suitor for him with the most trade assets. Sean, do you have any players you think that the Warriors would maybe be able to make a trade for that could boost their chances at making a playoff run?
Yeah, I think they definitely need help on the defensive side of the ball. So, I'm trying to think if any good wing defender, maybe OG Anunoby might be one that comes to mind right now. He's a great wing defender. He can also score. He's just the 3rd or 4th option on the Raptors, but if the Raptors are actually going to have a rough season like this, and they're looking to trade away assets for to better themselves in the future, I know that the Raptors they would definitely be willing to do that. So I think that would be a huge one. I think OG is a really good wing defender, so that's one that comes to mind just because the Raptors aren't doing that great right now. But I think if they're going to trade for someone, it definitely needs to be help on the defense side of the ball, because even with Klay Thompson out there, they're still scoring relatively well. So I think that the defense is definitely the side of the ball that needs the boost for the Warriors.
100%, yeah. So this weekend, we don't really have that many marquee matchups like we have in the past, but we still have a weekend full of basketball. I know the three of us will be watching along with Zay when he gets home tonight. He'll be watching his Knicks. So I think that just about wraps it up for us. This has been the Posting Up podcast through Clovercrest Media. Thank you, Jace, for your contributions today and producing the show. Sean, as always, thank you to you as well. I'm glad you could stick it out throughout the entire show. And you'll see Zay, me, Sean, and Jace next Tuesday at 5 p.m. This has been the Posting Up podcast.
It's finally here. It's the college football playoffs. Joe Aguirre, Jace Garcia, Sean Scanlon, and myself will get you caught up with the news in college football. Plus, a review of the New Year's Six bowl games, predict the Heisman winner, and a special invite to our Capital One Bowl Mania Challenge. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. It's All Four Downs Podcast presented by the CM